Hey, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about a really exciting new project called Red Pajama, which aims to recreate the LLaMA model, but completely from scratch and completely open source. And it's really exciting, and if it works, it's going to be a huge advancement for open source LLMs. Let's get into it. So here's the website for Red Pajama. It's together.xyz, and it says Red Pajama, a project to create leading open source models, starts by reproducing LLaMA training data set of over 1.2 trillion tokens. And for those who don't remember, LLaMA is an open source model from Meta, the company behind Facebook, that is probably the closest rival to OpenAI's GPT model. But it had two major flaws. One, obviously, it's from Meta. And two, it's not commercially open source, meaning you can use it for research purposes, but that's it. If you actually wanted to build on top of it and commercialize it or use it within a commercial setting, you can't do that. And that's a huge flaw. I just had a great discussion with the GPT for All founder, and his motivation for building on top of the GPT-J model was the fact that LLaMA was not commercially viable for anybody. And this aims to solve that problem, but using the same data set as LLaMA. And so if they're actually able to do it, we're going to see a really high quality model that is also commercially available. So here's their mascot. It's a llama in red pajamas. And if you're not familiar, it's a children's book. Here's what it looks like. Llama Llama Red Pajama. So that's where they get the name from. Pretty cute. And if we scroll down a little bit, the intro paragraph talks about the different types of models available today. Either they're completely closed and powerful, or they're somewhat open source and not available for commercial use. Red Pajama is a project to create a set of leading fully open source models. And they've already taken the first step to accomplishing this before actually making this announcement. They've put together a data set of 1.2 trillion tokens. That is an enormous data set for a model, on par with LLaMA. Let's read a little bit more about it. The most capable foundation models today are closed behind commercial APIs, OpenAI, which limits research customization and their use with sensitive data. Fully open source models hold the promise of removing these limitations if the open community can close the quality gap between open and closed models. Now that's really the biggest issue. Even LLaMA is not on par with GPT-4, and really no other model is at this point, but we can get there. The open source community can absolutely get there. But even the best open source models are not commercially viable. So this really aims to change that with high quality and commercial availability. This is a really important moment in open source LLM history. So here they talk about Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion showed that open source can not only rival the quality of commercial offerings like DALL-E, but can also lead to incredible creativity from broad participation by communities around the world. A similar movement has now begun around large language models with the recent release of semi-open models like LLaMA, Alpaca, Vicuña. Alpaca and Vicuña are both based on LLaMA and Koala, as well as fully open source models like Pythia, OpenChatKit, OpenAssistant, and DALL-E. We are launching Red Pajama, an effort to produce a reproducible, fully open leading language model. And Red Pajama is a collaboration between a handful of companies, which you can see here, and it really has 3 steps to it, 3 stages. 1, the pre-training data. And that's really the most important part. And as Andre, the GPT for All co-founder, mentioned, technical advancements will only go so far. The thing that will really make large language models on par with OpenAI's models is the data quality. The data quality is everything. Red Pajama's first step is pre-training data, which needs to be both high quality and have broad coverage. Now they've already done that. Today, we are releasing the first component, pre-training data. So you can get it immediately. It's a few terabytes of data. So obviously it's a lot for most consumer computers. But if you're a research group or you have a lot of computing power, you can download that data set immediately. So step 2 or component 2 is base models, which are trained at scale on this data. So taking that data, the 1.2 trillion token data set, and training models from it. Then step 3 is the instruction tuning. So basically, if you think about it, the base model is like LLaMA, and then the instruction tuning is Alpaca. So in this case, the third step, the third component is instruction tuning data and models, which improve the base model to make it usable and safe. Instruction tuning means taking a bunch of instruction examples. So give me code for XYZ, and then rating the output from the model. And that will help improve the base model and make it usable and safe according to this blog post. And the third step, or the third component, is instruction tuning the data and model. And basically what this means is taking a bunch of examples of instructions, really high quality instruction data, such as write code in Python to count from 1 to 100, and then using that to train the raw model on. This is what has been described in the LLaMA paper. This is exactly how LLaMA operates. So here it says LLaMA was also trained on 1.2 trillion tokens, and it was carefully filtered for quality. So Red Pajama had to recreate that, because if they just copied it, they would be under the same license and it wouldn't be commercially viable. So they actually had to recreate it from scratch, making sure that every piece of data was commercially viable. And here they say, second, the 7 billion parameter LLaMA model is trained for much longer, well beyond the chinchilla optimal point, to ensure the best quality at that model size. A 7 billion parameter model is particularly valuable for the open source community as it can run on a wide variety of GPUs. So they're really making sure that as they're training these models, they want it to be able to run on GPUs that most people can get, even if they are quite expensive. However, LLaMA and all of its derivatives are only available for non-commercial research purposes. We aim to create a fully open source reproduction of LLaMA, which would be available for commercial applications and provide a more transparent pipeline for research. So here they talk about the Red Pajama base data set. And again, it's 1.2 trillion tokens. And you can download a random sample here at Hugging Face. And there are 7 data slices. So first is the Common Crawl dataset. Next, they have the C4 dataset. They also use GitHub, so hopefully this is going to be good at programming, because the local models tend to not be nearly as good as OpenAI's models. They have the ARXIV, the Scientific Articles Database. They have books, a corpus of open books, deduplicated by content similarity. They're using Wikipedia, a subset of the Wikipedia pages, removing boilerplate, and Stack Exchange. Again, hopefully it's going to be really good at coding. And Stack Exchange is much more than coding. Stack Overflow is specifically for coding, but Stack Exchange has a wide variety of question and answers about a lot of topics. And a lot of the answers are from experts. So here they talk about the size of each slice of the data set. So you can see that here. The largest being Common Crawl, second being C4. And they also said that they're going to be in collaboration with the Meerkat project, which you'll be able to actually visualize this huge data set, which is going to be really cool. So here's an example of what it might look like. So what's next? They talk about having reproduced the pre-training data. The next step is to train a strong base model. As part of the Insight program with support from Oak Ridge Leadership Computing Facility, we are training a full suite of models, with the first becoming available in the coming weeks. So this is super exciting. We're gonna have our first glimpse at these new models in the next few weeks. I'm so excited about the open source LLM community, and I think this is gonna be a huge push to get the open source models on par, or at least close, with closed source models like ChatGPT. And then they talk a little bit about instruction tuning. Alpaca illustrated the power of instruction tuning. With merely 50,000 high-quality diverse instructions, it was able to unlock dramatically improved capabilities. Here it says, via OpenChatKit, we received hundreds of thousands of high-quality natural user instructions, which will be used to release instruction-tuned versions of the Red Pajama models. So very, very exciting. So I encourage you to check out this blog post. If you want to download the raw data set and you have a few extra terabytes sitting around, you can do so. I'll drop a link in the description below. I'll also drop a link for this blog post in the description below. And if you like this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.